Bread and spread. Bread and spread.
Bread and spread once again.
Conlon, he's traveling for work.
Yeah. Let's talk about people who are actually here, not the ones who aren't here.
Do you think Roxanne knows that he's traveling for work, or do you think she gets a different excuse?
I'll let you say that and deal with the consequences of.
Maybe Roxanne's watching. She's probably not, but
she might. She might be.
Maybe
yeah, we should get. Maybe she'll jump on and give her picks instead, and then we.
I didn't know you were traveling for work. I thought you quit your job. What are you talking about traveling for work?
Yeah, that would be a surprise. It'd be one way to find out.
Oh, all right. Well, you know what? Actually, the good thing is that Conlon's not here because. Oh no, that was last week. Was that last week? Oh yeah,
last week.
Last week was when he was bitching about his record, right? Or to me on the side, he was like, "Oh no, I'm not that. I made a bunch of other picks."
Yes. So what he said on air while he was driving, but we couldn't see his face, those weren't the real picks. Those were just his preliminary picks that he eventually changed several of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, last week you and I 7-9, Conlon 9-7.
7-9 for me is like that's pretty close to 16-0.
That is that's the best you've done all year.
Oh yeah. And you know why? Because I'm going against my own intuition.
It's not a bad thought, right?
And that's as we keep kind of doing this, I'm starting to catch on to certain point spreads where I think they're trying to get me to think something, and I'm trying to go against that a little bit. So you want to not overthink it, but at the same time you have to realize, especially in week 5, that it's a totally different season, and teams' histories don't matter right now. We tend to historically think, well, Houston sucks and everybody's going to beat them, and never pick Houston, and Arizona's good and you should pick like it's a totally different season, and it's and I think the first 5 weeks have shown us like whatever we've seen in past seasons, you can just throw it out because it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. All right, let's go. First game tomorrow night, Indy at Denver. I cannot believe Denver is a favorite, 3.5. So Taylor's out, right? Is that I heard?
Taylor is out. Yeah.
Taylor's out. The Colts apparently suck.
Yeah, and that team beat Kansas City. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think a lot of these weeks you've got to just throw it out and realize, this team got beat by Tennessee last week. Tennessee's looked really bad. Denver has shown almost nothing. They've looked bad. They look disjointed. I think Russell Wilson proves that you can't just take a good quarterback and throw him on a different team and be like, okay, he's got a bunch of weapons, he'll be awesome, because it's not looking good for them so far. That said, Indy, especially without Taylor, sucks. I'll take the Broncos here.
Okay, so I was going to stop you mid whatever. Are we sure that Russell Wilson's a good quarterback? Like he was.
I'm not sure, and I think it really kind of shows you the state of quarterback play, because I think you would have seen maybe Seattle kind of ride that out and bring in a new quarterback, and then he would have gone the way of like a Carson Wentz or something like that. I think there's a lot of reason to question whether or not he's a good quarterback. Okay. Because he looks very confused and not good.
And Hackett is. I don't think Hackett's. I mean, he might get fired at this rate.
Yeah,
one and done.
Yeah, because I mean that's a team that's set up to win now. Denver's invested enough money in both sides of the ball to be a team that's going to contend for the Super Bowl, and they don't look like they might even contend for their own division.
Yeah. I'm taking Indy. I'm taking the points. I don't think Denver deserves to be favored, so I'm taking the points. As much as Indy has sucked all year.
Yeah, and I can see why.
So the London game we'll get to later because it is the Giants and the Packers, so we'll always finish with the Packer game.
Yeah.
Largest spread on the board, Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Buffalo is favored by 14.
Yeah, it's a huge number. Again, this is one where I think I feel like I'm being baited. Pittsburgh is horrible. That's a team that offensively can't do anything, which shouldn't surprise us. They've got Trubisky at quarterback. Their defense is terrible. And so I feel a bit like I'm being pulled to want to say that's too big of a number or whatever. Pittsburgh's not Pittsburgh, so I'll take Buffalo here.
Trubisky's not the quarterback anymore.
Right. So he's
benched. Yeah.
He's benched, and the rookie went in last week. Yeah. So Trubisky was the quarterback up until last week, and the Pickett from University of Pittsburgh is in now, which is another reason I'll take Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo too, just because of that. I think they're probably going to try to just flush the shit out of him and run at him and give him everything they got. So I'll take Buffalo, especially because Buffalo's coming off. I mean, they're coming off a loss and a very, very tight win.
Yeah.
I think they're just I think they're in a spot where they're ready to put the hammer down.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next game, the Chargers at Cleveland. Chargers are favored by 2.5.
Yeah. Jeez. And there's
this
again,
is a trap game. This is a trap game to me.
Yeah. Why don't you take this one first?
Well, I mean, so the Chargers had the rough game against where they lost to Jacksonville big, but they were out a bunch of players.
Yeah.
And they come back last week, and they were up big against the Houston, right? I think it wasn't Houston came back. It made it close, whatever, but they win.
Close, yeah.
I don't. Cleveland's playing, I think, better than probably people thought, given all the circumstances. But like, I should take points because I normally take points. I'm going to take the Chargers because I think they just have way more talent. Although, who knows? Chubb and Hunt could go nuts on them. I have no idea.
Yeah, and those are my exact thoughts, and that's why I'm taking the Browns.
Yeah,
because I just see it as we're really looking at like, okay, the Chargers of last year, and they're clearly not that team. They've been very inconsistent and not look great. It's in Cleveland. Cleveland has some talent, and they've looked at least a bit more consistent outside of that horrible loss to the Jets where they gave up that lead. Yeah, I mean, basically take what you said, and I'm going to take Cleveland. So
What we don't know anything. So if you're listening to us to get gambling tips, don't. But
yeah, don't do that. Here's the thing that not to go off on a tangent here, but when you look at games like this, you're like, should the NFL contract? I mean, should they go back down to like 28 teams? It seems to me that the talent is just too spread out, and I understand you're going to get 50,000 people that are going to go to Cleveland, LA, and they can't give up that money, and they can't, but it's a watered down product. It's there's a lot of games. There's games every week that we're going to that we're just groaning because there's terrible games.
Well, I think the point of it is there's terrible games, but I think the point is that there's just not enough quarterbacks.
Right.
There's just not enough high level quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's tons of wide receiver talent. There's just nobody to get them the ball.
Yeah. All right, next game, Chicago at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 7. I will make this quick. Chicago, I think, sucks, and it's not a primetime game, so I'll take Minnesota.
Yeah, and I cannot in my right mind take Chicago under any circumstance. That's a horrible football team. I do think 7 is a big number. I could see it being fairly tight for a while. But I'll take Minnesota here too.
All right, Detroit, the highest scoring offense in the NFL, on the road at New England, who I cannot believe almost beat the Packers last week.
Scary.
Which we'll talk about later. New England is favored by 3. You can go as I think.
Yeah, and here's the thing: New England, skill position wise, is bad. I mean, especially offensive skill is really bad. I'm assuming they're going to have to start the rookie this week. But New England, defensive line and offensive line are really good. And I was listening to Kenny Clark on the radio on my way back from something tonight, and he talked about how good the New England offensive line is. New England can run the ball. I think they'll do that. I think the young quarterback showed a lot in a really tough spot. Detroit can score, but they can't stop anything. We clearly know that Belichick is a better coach. Patricia's a former Detroit coach. He's been out now for a little bit. I understand, a couple years. I'll take New England here.
I'm going to take Detroit, just for the fact that the Belichick thing is he takes away what you do best, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And we know we know Detroit can score. And the thing is I think, and I'm assuming, do they have the receivers back, Browns back, and I mean Charks, whatever, but
Yeah.
they're not missing three guys. Swift, I think, is probably still out, but I don't think that's a big deal because Jamal Williams is more than a capable running back in the league.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've seen Josh Reynolds pop up in a lot of DFS stuff. So I'm assuming at least one of those receivers must still be out.
Okay. I think Goff has played well.
Yeah.
I think they can run the ball or throw the ball. So I think if Belichick wants to take away the pass, then they're going to run it. And I think vice versa, if he wants to take away the run, I think they're going to pass it. And I think Detroit's just going to score enough to, and again, they're getting 3 points. So that's why I'm taking, I think it's going to be a close game. Just like New England, all of New England's games are going to be close, you think, for the most part.
Yep.
So at that given, I'm going to take Detroit.
Okay.
All right. Seattle at New Orleans. New Orleans. God, Seattle. This game, like, New Orleans is favored by 5. I don't know if Winston's playing. Seattle sucks, but Seattle beat Detroit. Maybe they don't suck. I'm going to take Seattle because they're getting points, and I cannot believe I just said that.
Yeah, and I'm going to take New Orleans, just because that game in London, I thought they actually deserved a win. They really messed that up toward the end. I think the Saints are a pretty solid team all around. I don't think they're a good team. Seattle's horrible. So I'll take the Saints here.
I'm going to I just want to see this real quick. If let's first check if Winston. All right, so Winston's questionable. He did not practice today. Who else? Kamara. Where's Kamara? What's Kamara? Kamara is questionable. He practiced limited today.
Yeah, and Kamara was somewhat of a late scratch. Like they thought he was going to play all the way up until game time last week, and then he was ruled out.
Just to go back to St. Brown from Detroit, did not practice today. Neither did DJ Chark or Josh Reynolds.
Wow. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that may change. Whatever. I mean, this Wednesday, but okay.
Yeah. Don't be a Conlon and go back and change your pick.
I mean, it makes sense it makes sense if there's people out all of a sudden. He changed like 7 picks.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Miami is favored by 3.5 on the road against the Jets. Miami is without Tua, which should not be a surprise. I love how I'm getting all these notifications on my phone, like, oh, the Miami is ruled out Tua for week 5, and it's like,
no kidding. Yeah. Did you see what happened? Yeah, he's not going to be playing football for a bit. The Jets look. Again, they play the Steelers, so I understand you can't take too much from it, but the Jets have had some good moments this year. Miami, I think, is still going to be trying to find their footing. I know I'm going to talk about this in DFS a little bit, but now they're trying to lean on the run, but they've got some backs that are maybe not all that great in terms of Miami. So yeah, I like the Jets here.
Yeah, it's a simple equation for me. It's a home dog, division home dog. So I will take I'll take the Jets as well.
Yeah.
Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay favored by 8.5.
Again, I feel like I'm being baited because Atlanta has shown something. They've been better than we thought. Tampa has been far worse than we thought. I mean, that 41-31 on Sunday night, it wasn't even that close. I mean, it was over almost immediately. Obviously Brady's personal life is a mess. Tampa, we thought their defense was their strength, and then Kansas City completely exposed them. So I think you get this 8.5 number to try and kind of bait you into being like, well, Atlanta's playing well and Tampa's not playing well. I'm not falling for it. I think this might be Tampa's bounce back game. I'm taking the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Tampa Bay as well. Patterson's out for Atlanta for a while.
Yeah.
They apparently have decided not to throw to Pitts at all, which I would think this is going to change in this game, but
Yeah.
I think this is a bounce back game, and I think Tampa Bay is going to throw a bunch, and they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Right.
So,
Right.
Tennessee at Washington. Tennessee. I mean, this could be Tennessee beating me, but I don't know. Tennessee's favored by 2.5. Washington's at home. I mean, I don't even know. Like, if I saw this game and it was a pick 'em, I wouldn't even know what to do.
No, no, even straight up.
That would,
And
I guess,
again,
that would tell me I should take Washington because I'm getting points. But
yeah, and you're getting it's at Washington too, so it's a
yeah,
home dog situation.
yeah.
I'm not falling for it. I'm taking Tennessee.
I just talked myself into Washington, so I'll take the points
Yeah,
out.
yeah, all right.
Houston at Jacksonville. Jacksonville. So I mean, you see Jacksonville jump out big on Philly, and then all of a sudden Philly comes back, and of course they cover the spread, which is insane.
Yeah,
Lawrence fumbled and lost 4 fumbles, and he lost all of them, which is insane. Houston's been playing well. They do not have a win.
they do not.
I think this is a close game, and I'm going to take Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tendency is to think, maybe this is a come back down to earth game for Jacksonville, because they have played good football. Clearly, there's some positive things happening there. You get rid of Urban Meyer. There's only one direction you can go after all that. So, I think Jacksonville defensively, outside of some of the things that happened last week, I think has been pretty good. Offensively, they're on the upswing. I'll take the Jaguars here.
Did you say Jaguars or Jaguars? And if you say Jaguars,
Jaguars.
then you kick yourself off the fucking podcast. In
Jaguars.
what means it's pronounced Jaguars?
I don't think I said Jaguars.
Okay, it sounded like you said
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Jaguars, thank you.
The
That's
Jags.
I
I'm
cannot
just not
say
going to go there.
who say Jaguars. It's not spelled Jaguars. It's spelled Jaguars.
Jaguars. Yes.
Has anyone pronounced the car Jaguar a Jaguar? Probably, and those people are idiots.
They probably did, but yeah, they're simple-minded folk.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed you. You're picking Houston, you said?
No, I'm picking Jacksonville. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. San Francisco, favored by 6.5 at Carolina. Carolina is a disaster.
Yeah, they're bad.
I don't know how. I mean,
Yeah.
and San Francisco doesn't. I mean, I think they're. I think the thing is just keep on running Debo.
Yeah, and San Francisco's really look good against the Rams. On both sides of the ball. Obviously, with Jimmy G, that offense has a little bit of a different element to it, and Wilson looked fairly decent running the ball. At least there was some balance there, so their offense looks good. I think there's every reason to believe San Francisco will win this game. Now, 6.5 on the road. Again, I think Carolina's a bad team, but I don't think San Francisco covers here. So I'm going to take the Panthers.
We have another week where we're just opposites. I'm taking San Francisco because I think Carolina sucks fucking bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't blame you for that. And there's every reason to believe San Francisco is a far better team. I just don't think they cover.
Dallas at the Rams. Rams are favored by 5.5.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a tougher one than most would think. I've not been shy about the fact that I don't think the Rams are a really good team. I didn't think they were a good team last year. Dallas has been surprising. I think the Rams win this game, but don't cover. So I'll take the Cowboys.
I will take the Cowboys as well. I actually think the Cowboys win. I think this Cooper Rush Prescott thing is I want this so bad.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be awesome, right? He goes undefeated, and McCarthy, who's just a loser, has to decide, or he doesn't even get to decide because it's going to be Jerry Jones most likely.
Yeah.
But I think it's hilarious. You have this franchise quarterback that is now going to be a quarterback controversy. And what'd be even better is if they give the ball the job back to Dak and then he loses right away.
Yeah. And Dak makes how much a year? I mean,
right.
40? Just an enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
And Cooper Rush is crazy.
He's played well. Yeah, he's played
really well. Yeah. And I think he fits more of the makeup of that team, which is play smart, run the ball, kind convert on third downs, play good defense, and Dak doesn't do that. Dak makes bad decisions. Dak gets hit. He takes sacks. He does stupid shit, and that puts his team in bad spots where they can't run the ball. They can't play good defense. They're playing catch up. Rush seems to just fit the mold of that team much better.
Yeah. All right, next game, Philly on the road at Arizona. Philly is favored by 5. Philly still undefeated, right? 4-0.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one.
I'm taking Philly. They're playing well. Why would I not take the team that's undefeated and playing like an undefeated team, playing like the best team in the league? I don't think the Cardinals are that good. I know they beat Carolina last week. I have no reason to take Arizona, I guess.
Yeah, and again, I think if you think with your brain, think in your mind about how good Arizona has been in previous years, you want to kind of take the bait here. They suck. Okay, Arizona's a bad team. They basically have no home field advantage. This might as well be a neutral site game because Philly's going to have tons of fans there. Arizona fans are not going to show up for this. So yeah, I'd take Philly here.
All right. Sunday night game, Cincy at Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 3. Baltimore coming off a shitty tough loss against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Buffalo. For that being said, they're at home. They're coming off a loss, as they got to win this game as a bounce back. I'll take Baltimore.
Which shocks me because you hate them.
I hate Baltimore. I'd like to be right better than than
Yeah, I
anything.
understand. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think this is a bounce back. The Ravens have been a little bit inconsistent to start this season, but Cincinnati, I don't trust very much. They've been way inconsistent, and I think this is a critical divisional game. I like Baltimore here.
All right. Monday night game, Las Vegas at Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 7. Is this going to be a really bad ass kicking, or is this going to be like one of those like last year where all of a sudden the Raiders beat the
Yeah.
Chiefs?
Yeah, and I think there's that tendency to think, are the Raiders going to show up and challenge them because the AFC West is just that division where anybody can beat anybody. It doesn't matter where it is, and the Raiders beating the Chiefs, the Chargers beating the Chiefs in certain situations in Kansas City. Um, I I just don't see it happening. I think Kansas City had their letdown game, and that was against the Colts. I don't. It's not going to happen here. I'll take the Chiefs.
I'll take the Raiders because I'm a Raiders fan, and I think that there might be a tendency for Kansas City to kind of be like in a little let up game here, right? We just destroyed
Sure.
Tampa Bay. Fuck Tom Brady, and maybe they get caught. Maybe the Raiders have played. The Raiders could be 4-0 right now. They legit could.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they were, who knows what the spread is? So maybe we are looking at a 4-0 versus 3-1 team, right? Kansas City is 3-1.
Yeah. Yep.
And that spread's totally different, obviously. Now they're not. The Raiders are 1-3 instead. I think at some point they're going to figure out this Adam shit. Like I think they're just going to kind of figure out their offense a little bit better. I mean, it seems like this
Yeah.
it's just weird.
Yeah. They figured some things out last week with Jacobs. Like, yeah, he's pretty
Yeah.
good. Give him the ball.
Yeah. So I think I'm betting on the fact that they've figured things out a little bit, and I'm not saying they win, but I think they keep it close enough. So I'll take the points.
I think it'd have to be 10 for me to go Raiders. I don't think 7 is enough.
Yeah. All right. Last game, London game. 8th. Are you looking for an 8:30 a.m. Sunday game?
8:30 a.m. Correct.
Cracking a drink right at 8:30 a.m.
Jeez, I'm at that age where it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It's like 7:15 and I'm awake, so it really doesn't. 8:30 doesn't bother me. 8:30 is kind of late. I wish I could sleep in, but those days apparently have ended. Maybe when I'm older I'll be able to sleep in again. But yeah, whatever. 8:30 is like, yeah, I'll be ready to go. Drinking, no, but.
So if I said, "Hey, let's go to a bar, Packer game, Bloody Marys, let's do it."
That would be kind of fun. It'd be unique. And they've been doing these London games for a while, and Green Bay's avoided it for so long. Who knows when they actually might do this again? It's probably going to be quite a while. So that would be fun. but we know we're not going to do that. So
Maybe we are. It's not. It's Wednesday. We got
ask Conlon. Yeah, let's
Conlon
see
will
if
be there.
Conlon wants it.
Conlon will put it together. Sure he's traveling for work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get to that game, what a shit game. Like, what do we? I guess we're not surprised because it's the Patriots, it's Belichick, and all that shit. But like,
Yeah.
what on earth?
Yeah. I mean, I think you saw a couple things. Number one, Belichick is a much better coach than LaFleur is. I think you saw just from a game standpoint, strategy standpoint, I think LaFleur got outcoached badly. I think the Packers' offensive and defensive lines got dominated on both sides of the ball. New England ran the ball effectively, even when you knew that was the only thing they had.
Yeah.
Still couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
So they ran the ball effectively. And I think New England's defensive line played really well. And again, some of that comes back to, they've been really good over the years of bringing in no-name guys and run their schemes and always being good at the point of attack with their offensive defensive line. And that was the case. I said from the beginning, I thought the Packers would be 2-2 to start. So them being 3-1, I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised. I thought at some point in time they were going to take control of that game and it was going to be a little bit easier than it ended up being. I'm not totally surprised that it was close. I'm surprised that it took overtime to win. And they could have very easily lost. I mean, New England was tied toward the end of regulation. It was at the 50-yard line. They only needed 10 to 15 more yards, kick a field goal and win it.
Yep.
And so, it was that close. I'm not shocked. It was tight for a while. I'm shocked that the Packers couldn't find a way to just be the better team. But I think the offensive defensive line had their struggles, and I think there was a definite difference in coaching.
What any plays? I have a play that stood out to me, but like I can't remember. I have our text that we sent back and forth, but any play where you were just like, so again, last week we finished on what do we think about LaFleur, and so we'll get back to it because he had some.
The challenge of the Dobbs drop was just
insane.
It just is it's like and those were the kind of like emotional, weird decisions that McCarthy would make. He'd be like, that's part of the reason McCarthy got run out of town and everybody was sick of him because he would make stupid decisions like that. LaFleur in his first 3.5 years almost just has never done those things. And it's like, stop listening to the freaking crowd. Stop waving for the crowd to be louder. They know what to do. It's freaking Lambeau Field. These people paid a lot of money to get in these seats. They know when to be loud. You don't need to make them be loud. They're not going to be louder because you're telling them to. So it's very frustrating that, there's just some things that are starting to bubble to the surface with him, that, there's some cracks starting to show. And year 4 now, I still think he's a good coach, but they put those numbers up in terms of, the guy essentially mathematically is the best coach after 50 games in league history.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. And I think he's going to continue to get better. I have hope for him. I knew what we had in McCarthy right away, and I knew he wasn't going to get better. He's still not. Mike McCarthy's still not any better of a coach he was 15 years ago. I think LaFleur will get better.
I don't like the Dobbs. I'm glad. Obviously, that was the play that I want to talk about. Like, the thing that I hate about it is the excuse of it. And you brought up the word emotional because he said that it was I got emotional, blah blah. And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I don't think I am, but the challenge flag didn't come out right away, correct?
Didn't.
Like, it waited. If that is an emotional decision, that means you threw the flag right away. You were so emotional, you're like, screw that. He caught it. He had all this time to watch a replay in the stadium because they show it. Like, they're showing you. We've been to games in Lambeau. They're showing the replay,
right?
Which I don't care what replay you saw. It was obvious it was a drop,
right?
He also had his guys in the booth telling him, "Don't challenge it. I wouldn't do it."
Yeah.
And he does it anyways. And then his excuse is, well, I'm emotional. I wanted to back my guys. No, that's bullshit. That's
Yeah.
bullshit. Emotional things you do instantly. Like that's
Right.
that's like
Right.
that's a knee-jerk emotional thing. Like I got Dobbs back. I got whatever. I think he caught it. Like it doesn't make sense. It's so
No.
stupid. It drove me nuts. I don't at that level. There's no, and especially in a game like that, where how close it was,
Yeah. Right.
there's zero excuse for it. I don't. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's almost like a politician kind of move, like you're trying to win over the fans. Like, oh, the
Right,
fans want me to do
right,
it. So they're like, who cares what the fans think? 90% of the fans in the stands were like, we shouldn't challenge this.
right. And then to say that any fan, and I've just this shit's driven me nuts forever. Any fan that boos after it wasn't overturned,
Yeah.
fuck off and get out of the stadium. You're not welcome back.
Right.
You lost your season tickets, whatever. Like, it's what are you booing for? I
Right.
oh
Yeah, it was painful, on multiple levels. We were all sending texts back and forth to be like, it's incomplete. Just move on. Like, what are
yeah,
we doing? This
right.
is dumb.
It's just I hate it.
Yeah.
That's that's the stuff that pisses me off. That's the stuff that I couldn't even give you the worst challenge of McCarthy's career, but like
There was a lot of them.
I think this might be worse. Like it was so obvious.
Yeah, it was not a good look, especially in a game when you were getting out coached.
Yeah.
And then, because there's no way in hell Belichick would ever challenge something like that. It wouldn't even be a second thought. He's not challenging that.
No, it took like one replay to see. And there's a lot of times where you'll see a play where it's like you look at the fourth angle and it's like, oh, now I can see it. This was like, oh, I saw the first angle and it's obviously it's
Yeah, immediate.
not a catch. Like,
Yeah, immediate. And I mean, even watching it live, as soon as you see the ball come out on the
mhm,
ground, it's incomplete because we've watched enough football to know you have to complete the catch. It's the
yeah,
rule. I don't like it any more than anybody else. Okay, but you got to complete the catch. And if you see the ball come out at any point, live or on replay, it's not a catch.
right.
So what are we challenging?
Yeah,
We're challenging, hoping somebody's going to make a poor decision up in the booth who's paid to not do that.
yeah.
Such a stupid decision, and they correct me if I'm wrong. They only had one timeout left at the end of regulation where they missed out on a chance to potentially throw a Hail Mary, right?
Oh, I don't I maybe. I wouldn't surprise me. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think
The
I think what
timeouts,
happened.
the
I want to
timeouts just
say,
gotta
yeah, I want to say that they they had gotten the ball back at the end of regulation with I don't know, I want to say maybe 40 seconds left, but they only had one timeout. So they ran a play and got up to me, oh no, because Amari Rogers, my favorite dude, he catches the punt and like gets tackled or whatever and wastes a bunch of time.
yeah,
That's what happened. But if there was a point in which I think maybe if those timeouts would have been there, it would have benefited them. Either way, it was a horrible challenge. And yeah, it was one of those where you sent a text like, "Is LaFleur a good coach?" And you're starting to question a little bit. The
well, yeah,
timeout thing is pissing me off so bad though.
yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so that's kind of a double thing, right? So you do the challenge and you lose a timeout. So
Yeah,
like you're fucking yourself there, and you're in a close game. You're already in a close game. This game was never like not close,
yeah.
and so you're that's another level of a layer of the coaching. But like, I don't know. Will we ever get to the end of a half with all three timeouts?
No,
It's
and I
I've said
I
this in
don't.
text chat. I'm starting to believe that this is a Rodgers thing because it happened before. It happened with McCarthy. It happens all the time. And I don't know. And there was one time I think where I don't even know if we took a timeout, but you saw Rodgers yelled at someone like snap the fucking ball,
Yeah,
whatever.
right, right.
But like part of me is wondering, I don't know whose problem this is. I don't know. Is it everyone's? Maybe it's everyone's problem. Maybe it's LaFleur and
Yeah, yeah,
Rodgers. I don't get it. How is
yeah.
maybe I don't know. I don't like we always focus on the Packers. We watch Packers every weekend. I don't know if we decided to watch the same team every weekend, not the Packers, would we see the same shit? I feel like we wouldn't, but maybe we would. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Rodgers is just very picky about some of the looks he wants to get,
Fair.
And when there's long, especially long plays. So long, 30, 40 yard plays, and then they can't get their asses up to the line and get set. It just seems like there's a disorganization or some disorganization and a lack of communication in terms of what we're going to do next. Is like, this is your job. Why are you not ready to run a play? Even if you, to me, even if you waste a down, first down, you just hand it off and let Jones or Dylan or whatever get a yard. I'd rather have 2nd and 9 and still have that timeout,
Sure.
because it's not like, man, every time they call a timeout, the play they come out with is awesome, because it's not. It
Right.
never, it's not
Yeah.
like it's a great play and that timeout helped them figure anything out. It's basically either they can't get their act together, or there's a communication problem and Rodgers gets frustrated and uses timeout.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, and it's again, that's McCarthy was the worst with that, and all of a sudden this has trickled in, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
This seems to be maybe the last year or so with the timeout wasting, and I don't get it.
Well, I guess nonetheless, I think we dodged a bullet. I think we definitely dodged a
For
bullet.
sure.
We probably could have, thank God to come out of with a win. I was watching with Caden. I said, well, because you guys know how I feel about Crosby. I'm like, watch this. He's missing this fucking
Yeah.
field goal. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to cost us a game. He's going to cost us something at some point. He's just too old.
Yeah.
I think there's just,
Yeah.
at some point it's going to be enough. What's the big saying, right? Belichick is always a year early. We are going to be a year late on Crosby at some point. It's going to happen. We're going to be a year late on him.
Yeah, and I think just the special teams in general, I really had a good feeling after the first 3 games, and the special teams sucked again Sunday. Kick coverage was terrible. Punt coverage was terrible. Like, what are we doing? We paid this special team, this or whatever his name is. We paid the guy, a lot of money to come in and be a special teams coordinator. I don't see anything. Why the hell is Amari Rodgers back there? Freaking punt block every time. I've said it for 20 years, and I'm going to continue to say it. Why even put a punt returner back there? Nothing good comes from it. Let him kick it. I don't care if it rolls 10 extra yards. We haven't had a punt returner back there since freaking Allen Rossum that can do anything. It's been 20 years. Yeah. We haven't had a guy who can return punts for touchdowns in 20 years. Why even put anybody back there? Amari Rodgers sucks. He's a liability. You're saying Crosby is going to cost us? Amari Rodgers is going to cost us at some point too.
Your stance on not having a punt returner back is the same philosophy I have, is that when you have Aaron Rodgers, I would not carry 2 quarterbacks. I would carry 1 quarterback, and that is Rodgers only. And then you have an emergency quarterback, which would be Randall Cobb. Because guess what happened? Have we ever talked about this or no? I've talked about it with Mike, I think, in Conlon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If Rodgers gets hurt this year, if he goes down, what's going to happen? The year's trashed, right?
Yeah, it's over.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're not going to win the Super Bowl. It's done. So who cares if we have a backup quarterback? Just find one off the free agent wire or whatever, and that's it. Like, let Randall Cobb finish the game. It's no big deal. I get it. Like, we're getting to the point. I know it's a little bit different now where Rodgers is getting towards the end of his career, and we need to have someone maybe grooming, whatever. I have said this before. I said this when Favre was around. I said, I don't care. Just don't care. You have the best quarterback in the league. You don't need a backup quarterback, because if your quarterback goes down and you're like, if I was Kansas City, right? If I was the Chiefs, I would not have a backup quarterback, knowing that if Mahomes goes down, we're fucked. What's the point? Just get another roster spot with someone else that you could use somewhere else, right? Would you rather have a backup quarterback, or would you rather have a punt returner right now, Kishuda?
I'd much rather have a punt returner.
Yeah.
But here's the only thing I'll say. The reason the Packers wouldn't go that route is they wasted a first-round pick on Jordan Love, so he's getting.
Well, right. That's what I said. Yeah. No, I get it. I said this before Jordan Love came along.
Yeah. No, I'm.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. I mean, you're paying a guy $50 million a year. If he goes down, you're done anyway.
Right.
And the only way a backup quarterback would pay off is in a situation where he went down and you're up, and that person needs to basically just stand out there and hand the ball off. But Cobb can do that.
Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And if anyone says, "Oh, well, look at Nick Foles, you won a Super Bowl," yeah, Nick Foles was better than fucking Carson Wentz. That's the fucking problem. Like, it's not like,
yeah.
I mean, so
yeah, there are situations out there where there's not as big a gap between the starter and the second string guy. Like the gap between Rodgers and love is
Enormous.
wide.
Yeah.
It's absolutely enormous. And without Rodgers, they're a 3-14 team.
Yeah.
They're an awful football team.
Yep.
So what's the point?
All right. Glad we agree. All right. Well, now we can get to the London game.
Yeah.
Giants and Packers. Are these the last? I think the Packers are like one of the last teams, right, to ever play in London.
I think they are. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to
And,
say, I know they put it off as long as possible. Whatever, they try to put it off as long as possible, which I totally understand.
yeah.
I wouldn't want to fucking fly over there and go to London and play. I mean, you lose a home game and
Right.
You lose a home game. Are we done? Are we
Yeah,
down a
they
home?
would have. Yeah, they would have. This would have been a 9th home game for them. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Giants look good. I mean, they look good. The Giants are 3-1. They're playing everyone tight. They haven't played a lot of. I mean, God, the Bears. God, the Bears are awful. I cannot.
Right.
Can you imagine being a Bears fan?
It's gotta be. I mean, the other teams in the Packers division, it's got to be hard to be a fan of any of those teams. But my God, yeah, the Bears are so. I mean, they're not only bad, but to even fix what's going on there is going to take at least 5 years.
So the Bears and the Lions are both 1-3. Or wait, the Bears are 2-2, aren't they?
Bears are 2-2. Yeah.
Would you rather be a Lions fan or a Bears fan? I'd be a Lions fan in a heartbeat. They've got way better players. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's hope in Detroit. There's no hope in Chicago.
This Justin Fields thing is it's got to end. Like it's not anything.
Yeah, and you would think you would just understand that what happens at Ohio State does not translate to the NFL. And Conlon would, he'd go on about this for 20 minutes if he were here. It doesn't translate. Yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah, thoughts and prayers. So at Ohio State, what he's doing is not really an NFL offense in any way. He's got talent all over him. He's playing freaking Indiana. Like it doesn't. He's a talented, athletic guy, but I don't think he's ever going to be even a good NFL quarterback.
Yeah, this tells me that you just. This is another reason to tell him that you're just not that good, or just the Bears in general. His Prize Picks line for pass completions this past weekend was 11.5.
And
I think he actually hit.
He actually did hit. Okay.
Yeah, for the game winner. But I'm like, that's in this era of the NFL. If you're not completing 12 passes in a game, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. How much money is he costing Darnell Mooney, by the way, too?
Oh, at least finally Mooney had a good game, but Jesus.
Yeah. But Mooney he's a good player. I mean, Mooney could be due for a big payday, but he's got a freaking rubber arm quarterback. Can't get him the ball.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, sorry about the Bears tangent, whatever.
That's right.
8.5, right? 8. Where's my 8?
Yep.
8. Packers favored by 8. Last week scares me. I know there's going to be a game. I shouldn't say I know. I believe there's going to be a game at some point where like Dobbs or Lazard, maybe did I say this last week? Maybe I have to keep thinking it. One of them has a I think I did say this already in a podcast.
Maybe.
I'll just repeat it. Where someone's going to have like a 7-catch, 2-touchdown, 150-yard game.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be. I wouldn't expect it in London. They're playing too close of games. I'm taking the Giants and the points.
Yeah, and I think I would be with you on that, but the Giants quarterback situation right now, Jones hurt his ankle and was out of the.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he got hurt last week. Ty God comes in the game. Ty God gets a concussion, so Jones has to go back in with a hurt ankle and play the rest of the game. So he's banged up. Jones is questionable. Even if he does play, his ankle's bugging him. If he doesn't play, it's like Davis Webb or I don't know. It's like a freaking golf name. What's that?
So Jones was limited today in practice.
Right. Who's the third stringer? Is it Davis Webb or something?
Tyrod did not
Right,
practice today, and it
right.
is Davis Webb.
Yeah, which is a golf name.
Well, fine. It's Davis Love, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, doesn't
Or
Davis
Webb
Webb sound
Simpson.
like a doesn't that sound like a golfer? Davis Webb? Has there ever been a more
We,
golf name than that?
we were gonna name Caden. Caden's name the day that he was born was Davis.
Really?
Yeah, we had a scheduled C-section, and we were. It was like it was. I think it was whatever, and whatever before we got into the C-section, we were like, "Are we sold on Davis?" And we're like, "I don't like Davis because people are gonna call him Dave. I don't want him calling. I don't. And I have no problem with Dave, right? But like, I don't. We didn't want our kid. I don't want to
Yeah.
call him Dave, so we
No,
changed it.
no
And
offense
now
to
there's a
Dave's.
million. Now there's a million fucking Cadens running around.
Yeah, right. Little did you know that everybody else was going to do that exact same thing within like months of you. Um, I think the Giants quarterback situation with the injuries makes me question them. I don't. I think they're an average team, and I think the Packers at some point are going to surge. I do think 8.5 is a big number, but I think this could be the week that the Packers get it together. So I'll take the Packers.
All right. All right. Let's run through some DFS stuff.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. So tomorrow night, that Denver Indy game, which yeah, it. I think that's going to be this tomorrow night's going to be one of those Thursday games where it's like these guys cannot play these games on 4 days rest because it's going to be
Oh
it is going
yeah.
to be ugly. But I think the place to capitalize is obviously Jonathan Taylor's injury. I think a lot of people probably there will go Naheem Hines because he's technically the second string guy. Hines is not an every down back. He's not a 25 carry guy. So somebody else is going to have to get the ball. Hines is like 6,800 showdown price, which to me is a little steep for a guy who he's a third down back. I get the role he's being thrust into, but the guy who's behind him is Deion Jackson, Duke guy. Deion Jackson on showdowns is 1,600. And here's a guy. I think I looked him up today. He's like 6 foot 215. Good player. I think it's 1,600. If Deion Jackson scores a touchdown, you've already
Oh yeah.
it's already paid out. Like last week,
Right.
Hayden Hurst, he got a touchdown at 4,000. And then to me, getting a touchdown from a tight end who's 4,600 or whatever Hurst was, that pays out. Imagine getting a touchdown from a guy who's 1,600. And I think Jackson could do that. I think even if Jackson can get 10 to 12 touches, he's going to pay out at 1,600. So he's my pick for tomorrow night. Going into the weekend, I've got the one off the top is really interesting because usually my picks are kind of obscure guys maybe you haven't heard of, or guys that are underpriced. This one to me today, I had to look through multiple times because I could not understand the pricing here. So Tom Brady on DraftKings on all the slates is 6,000. Okay, if you don't know pricing on DraftKings and don't understand the numbers or
That's
whatever,
cheap.
he is priced under Dak Prescott and Tua. Dak Prescott and Tua are 6,200.
Brady is? Are you serious?
Brady is 6,000. So two guys that we know are not going to play are more expensive than Brady. Brady threw for 385 yards and 3 touchdowns last week, and he's got the Falcons this week. He's 1,000.
For reference, Geno Smith, Jesus, Lawrence 5,600, Geno Smith 5,500, Mariota 54, Garoppolo 54, Rush 54.
Yeah,
What in the hell?
yeah. But Jared Goff is more expensive than Brady.
Well, yeah,
And
well, and he should be because he's in the number one offense in the
yeah, but
league.
well, right. But he's going against New England. So to me,
Crazy. This
Brady
is
at 6,000,
ridiculous.
I think is a great quarterback in the mid range to get in your lineups and make a lot of other things work. Stacking him with, um, I think any of the receivers, stacking him with like a Godwin, I think makes a lot of sense. Godwin is going to be due for a big game here coming up. So Brady at quarterback, running back. I think just because the situation with Tua and the fact that Chase Edmonds has not turned out to be a very good player, I think Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. Um, I can't remember his price. I want to say he's somewhere in the 5,000s. He's pretty affordable, but he's your number one back for a Miami offense that's been otherwise pretty solid. So
Five
most
thousand.
5,000 for Mostert. So I think that's a pretty good price for a number one back. And then the wide receiver, this is definitely a flyer. This is one that's off the radar, but again, I've say it every week. You can't chase the points, so you can't say, "Well, they had a good week last week, so now they're gonna have a good week this week." You have to get out ahead if you want to differentiate your lineups and pick the guys that are on the upswing. A guy here who's really low priced, who I think is going to be heavily involved in a potential shootout game, is Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore's 4.1 for Arizona. His first week back last week. And then so now, he's a guy who was picked fairly high. Arizona's going to find a way to get him the ball. He's 4.1, and he's going to be in a shootout game. So I think that's a guy you could potentially target.
All right. Prize picks wise, Dameon Pierce over 61.5 rushing yards for Houston. He is clearly the number one running back. I think that'll be a somewhat high scoring game. It's only 43.5, but I think it's gonna be higher than that. I would take the over on that too. Jesus.
Yep.
And then I'll take Singletary for Buffalo over 51.5 rushing yards as well. They'll probably be up and he'll get the ball to kind of run clock.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this real quick. I hate every time I like wrote notes down about what I want to talk about. It's always also in mind with like the Conlon's here because I want to hear his opinion too.
Sure.
So I don't know. We'll see if he ever makes another fucking podcast. Paul Chris getting fired.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Anytime. Yeah, and
this is like McCarthy 2.0.
Yeah, the program just generally was starting to show a lot of cracks. Oh, especially you're losing to Minnesota more frequently. I mean, I think it was 15 years in a row that they beat Minnesota. Now all of a sudden you can't beat them. You've got programs like Iowa, Minnesota, even Michigan, who are, in my opinion, your same caliber, who are taking steps forward, and Wisconsin is not. I think it was shocking to see in the early part of the season how bad the offensive line has been and how bad the defense is. Now, the guy you're replacing him with is a defensive coordinator. But here's the thing, Sam. So if your sons were really good high school football players, if Paul Chryst came in your living room, are you going to send your kids to Wisconsin? Probably not. But if Jim Leonard, young guy, played in the NFL, badass dude's like 5'10", and played in the NFL. He's from a small town in Wisconsin. Like he's a far more impressive dude. I think Chris is an intelligent guy, but I just don't know how much it translates to young people. And I think you've got to have somebody in college football. You got to have somebody that's dynamic. And I think freaking Wallpaper is more dynamic than Paul Chryst, but I mean, it doesn't really take much to take a step forward in terms of being dynamic. But I think giving Leonard the reins is a really good move right now. And I think giving Leonard the reins now has as much to do with this, and not potentially losing Jim Leonard as much as it was Paul Chryst just basically sucking the last year.
Yeah, you wonder. Was it before last year, whatever, right? I think it was confirmed that the Packers offered Leonard the D coordinator job, right?
Yep.
You wonder if Leonard turned that down. I wonder now, did he turn it down because he thought to himself, Chris might be on his way out? Like this is on its last. This is on the last thing. I mean, I might be right there.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track, and I think he knew. I don't think he turns down an NFL defensive coordinator job unless he knows that he's in a good spot, and now he's in a great spot. He's at his alma mater, and he's the head coach, and he's in a almost no lose situation because they suck right now.
Oh,
you lost to freaking Washington State at home, and you got your ass beat by Brett Bielema, Illinois. which is a guaranteed win every other season. So you've got nothing to lose right now. I think even if the Badgers go 500 and squeak into a garbage bowl game,
Yeah.
Jim Leonard's got that job for sure.
Did
So
you? Oh, I
he's a bright
cannot
spot.
imagine. I can't imagine that they don't give him that job. I don't even care what fucking he would have to shit the bed so bad that I can't imagine they wouldn't give him the job because that's right. You know, like I said, this is alma mater. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch. Did you watch the game at all against Illinois or no? I did not. I was
No,
watching volleyball.
I was at a volleyball tournament. Shocking. But
Okay,
I
yeah,
kept
me
up
too.
with it. I kept up
Okay,
with it, and it was just all of a sudden it was just out of control, and I'm like, forget it.
so
I mean,
here's
it
what I don't.
was, yeah,
I understand that I got to control, but okay. So I mean, the things that the Badgers have always done well, and I'm not a college football fan, so I mean, if I'm speaking that
yeah,
I don't know what I'm
yeah,
talking about, it might be. They've always got great offensive linemen, and they always have great running backs. Okay, by all
yeah,
accounts, Braylon Allen is one of the best
yeah,
running backs in the country.
for sure.
Right? Eight carries for
He
two
is.
yards. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Their offensive line is horrible, and I
Okay,
think
that's what I
you
didn't know. Then
have
okay,
so, yeah, their offensive line is bad, and Mertz. Um, Mertz not only is not a good quarterback, but he's also not really good at the line of scrimmage in terms of adjusting plays and reading defenses. He's completely clueless. So defenses are a step ahead of Mertz, and they basically are like, we're going to shut down the run the whole game, and because your offensive line sucks, we know we can, and we're going to make Mertz beat us, which he can't because he's a freaking 4-star from Kansas. You know, the guy sucks. He's not a good quarterback, and that basically Paul Chris' job ended because of the Mertz decision. Recruiting him and forcing him into the lineup is what ended your time at Wisconsin. It's a
that
terrible decision.
yeah, I've said this before. We ended up getting Russell Wilson, and I say we because Wisconsin, whatever. I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't understand how we can't recruit better quarterbacks. Like we normally have amazing offensive lines. We have great running backs. Like, and I get
yeah,
like it comes down to I think a lot of it is like offensive play calling, offensive schemes. But like, how can you
yeah,
not go to like the top quarterbacks and be like, I'm giving you a top offensive line and I'm
yeah,
giving you an amazing running back, so we
yeah,
can run play action all day, and you're gonna have shit wide open. Like,
yep.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think the most frustrating thing is if you watch even like kind of second or even third level college football. Um, I was picking lineups for some of the Friday night games. There was going. There's a quarterback, Mordecai from SMU. He's good. Plumley from Central Florida is good. Those are second-rate college football programs. They're nowhere near Power Five. You have good quarterbacks all over the place, all over college football, and Wisconsin never gets any of them.
Yeah,
There are better quarterbacks at. There's probably better quarterbacks at some freaking FCS schools. I bet App State's quarterback is better than Mertz. I guarantee it. I guarantee he's better. And
I
why
was
the hell can we not get a kid to come up to Wisconsin? I don't understand it.
and even that, like, I agree. Do we not have any? God, well, do we not have any? Just how does Wisconsin high school just not produce it one quarterback
Well,
every 5 years? That Wisconsin's like he's in state, he's going to come here. That's what you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, but you tell me, because I mean, you followed Kimberly football for a while. Vandenboom ended up there and never played.
Yeah, I don't. We actually talked about that tonight. The homecoming parade.
Oh,
That's another story. Um, what about what's didn't someone from Franklin go to Wisconsin from just
stop it.
last year? Is he
Well,
there?
Stave went to
No,
Whitnall,
no, like last
and
year,
then
right?
and the kid who flipped me off. Yeah, he's there.
Is he at the Badgers now? Right?
Yeah, he's the backup.
He's the
He's the
backup
backup.
quarterback.
He's the backup because I think Wolf maybe he's the backup.
Wolf's
Uh,
hurt. Wolf's hurt.
he's out. So yeah, yeah.
What's his name?
Uh,
How do you not know his name? He
I think
flipped you off.
I think I've like suppressed it, and I'm on the spot. I for some reason cannot remember his
I
name.
would if I heard it, I would know it, but I just
Yeah.
can't believe like every 5 years, 4 or 5 years, we just don't. How does the best quarterback in Wisconsin just not go
Yeah,
to now? Everyone's gonna
yeah.
go, well, why does the best basketball player in Wisconsin? Totally different. Totally different. Um,
But
I just
here's the
can't believe
thing that
we've never had a good quarterback aside from Russell.
yeah,
Who's the best quarterback before Russell Wilson?
Brooks Bollinger.
I mean, what? I know what the fuck is that? Like, that's
Yeah,
honestly not
right.
the answer.
Yeah, exactly. And before that, it was Daryl Bevel.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's been really, really freaking bad. And yeah, I mean, and I can say this just because I've you know, coached against him and been near him. And the kid from Franklin's 5'10". He's
Oh,
not big. He's a
yeah,
gamer. Obviously, I learned twice. Um, and he's got a great arm. Whether or not that's going to translate into Big Ten football, I have an idea.
yeah.
But it's a crazy situation there. And what's concerning is I think if Mertz just sucked, but then you had a good offensive line and a good defense, you'd be like, okay, well, there's hope. Well, not only do you have a garbage quarterback who you've wasted 3 years on, but your your offensive line and defense are horrible. So
Yeah,
you can't even lean on that anymore.
yeah.
Allen is still a phenomenal running back, and his draft stock now has been killed because of the situation. So he's probably going to stick around for at least one more year.
I don't know if his
Um,
draft stock is killed because of that. But I mean, he can't go. He still has to. Does he have to
yeah,
be a certain age? He's got to be whatever 2 years out of after 18, whatever. I mean,
yep, yep,
he
yeah.
shot up
He's
a year,
got
whatever.
he'll be around for one more year at least.
Yeah.
So, um,
Last thing, and we will definitely we'll do this with Conlon whenever he's on next. But Tyler Hero's contract. I figure we should probably I have to touch on Tyler Hero's contract. You probably don't give a shit.
so is this just a product of a lack of talent in the NBA? Why is that guy
This
getting
is
paid that much?
so. This is the precursor to a giant salary cap bump in I think
Hmm,
2 or 3 years. So in 2 or 3 years, I think it's 2 years. His salary is going to look like I mean, if he plays well, it's going to look like a steal. Like you are about to see some insane NBA contracts where you're going to be like, I'm sorry, he's getting paid how much money?
yeah,
And it's going to be insane. There are going to be NBA players when this salary cap bump happens that are going to be making 50, 60, 70 million a year.
yeah. And I mean, with Hero specifically, I've watched him play a ton in these first few years. You've watched him more and know more about his story and everything like that. Is he getting better?
Um, that's a really good question. I've never had anyone ask me that. And I've talked about Hero all the fucking time. I defensively, I don't think so. Like he couldn't.
No.
There's times he can't play. Like even last year, there's times he can't play. He just looks overmatched. I think he works so much, and it's part of the game of NBA and stuff like that. But he works. He is a gifted offensive athlete, and he has an attitude that you would want in any player. Like he is. I will give him credit. He is a fuck you, give me the ball. I'm going to fucking score on you. I can score on anyone. He's got a very arrogant ego attitude, which is awesome, right? You can
Yeah. Right.
see it in Instagram and all that other shit. But when you can't play, like if you're going to be like the third highest paid player on your team, and you might not be able to play in playoff games, that's a fucking problem, if you ask me. And I think he's still at that point. I think he's still at the point where he is going to get picked on all the fucking time in games. They will run him through whatever, and he will get picked on, and they will put him on an island, and that's just what it is. And I don't think Miami made a choice. I really don't. They can get him, what is going to be he's a 6 man of the year. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he holds some records, which is what it is. But like, I mean, he's still not a good defender. He's just not a good defender. And
No.
I don't know when that's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna change ever.
And it's sometimes I almost wonder if it's um, you know, because since that time Miami has been questioned about making that pick because he was 15th overall. Yeah. It's taken fairly high.
That's 13th, I think.
13th
whatever.
overall.
Yeah,
High
yeah,
pick.
yeah, yeah.
And they were questioned, and they've been questioned since that time. And it's almost like, okay, well, screw you guys. We're doubling down on this. We're gonna give him a second contract, and we're gonna pay him. And we're not wrong. You guys are wrong. We're not wrong. It
Well, I mean,
almost
again,
seems like that to me.
he won Sixth Man of the Year, so like you can't really. Now, to be
But okay,
fair,
Sam, you watch a lot of basketball. What does sixth man of the year really mean?
it's not
I
right,
mean,
right. That's right. I was just about to say that he and this is a backhanded compliment. He should be starting, right? He should have been starting. So
for yeah,
So I don't know what's like. Do we want to compliment Tyler Hero for starting on an NBA team, or that he won Sixth Man of the Year? Like it's the Manu Ginobili thing, right? Manu Ginobili was a start in the NBA, Sixth Man of the Year. Lou Williams,
yeah.
Sixth Man of the Year. We're all starters, right? Um, they had to. I think they had. I mean, they just had to pay him. I think they just
Yeah.
had to. And again, in a couple years, you're going to see it, and you're like, actually, that's kind of for what all these guys are getting paid now. Actually, might be a pretty good deal. I just don't like guys that you can't even put on the court because they just can't defend.
Well, and he is a sixth man because they only can play him situationally.
Well, sure.
He's
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
off the bench because he can't start, because if the other team knows he's out there to start with, they're going to match up a guy on him who's going to freaking eat him alive.
yeah,
And
true.
and if
And so
and if
when
and if
yeah,
he's a six man and he's coming off the bench, they can pick the spot to put him in where he's not going to get picked on defensively, and he's going to get some open shots.
then he's playing against the second
Right.
string, whatever. And yeah, I get that. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I still think he would rather. I still think basketball is not his number one priority. I still think he would rather be famous than be a basketball player.
Yeah, I think getting women pregnant is on the priority list.
One woman he is. So I don't know. I would love to know the story of that. Right. So did he cheat on her? Like, do we know if he cheated on her?
I think there's some suspicion that happened. Yeah.
That he did, right? And then all of a sudden, like a week later, she was pregnant, and now they're back together. And he's on Instagram kissing the belly and
Yeah.
fucking
Happily
blah.
ever after.
Jesus,
Happily ever
I
after.
can't take.
Yep.
I got to save some of this stuff for my basketball podcast, which is going to be
Yeah.
picking
Yeah.
up
I'll save it.
soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
I got nothing else. You got anything else?
I've got nothing
Right.
else. You can cross promote though. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, everyone tune in. All the 0 people that have watched this podcast so far tonight, tune into Over and Back when it kicks off.
Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
And Conlon, when you're done traveling for work,
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah. Safe travels, John.
Maybe we'll get some Bloody Marys Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. The shooter wants to get drunk.
Yes. Yeah. Just what I want to do on just waste a Sunday.
Well, I highly doubt that is. It's maybe a wasted Sunday, but it's not wasted. You know that plain words?
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
All righty.
Okay. Have a good one.
Any volleyball this week? What's up with volleyball with you guys?
Volleyball tomorrow night, Appleton East.
Oh, we played Appleton East last night.
Yep.
No more tournaments, right? You done with tournaments? We're done with tournaments.
Tournaments are over.
Yep.
And then conference season wraps up next week. So
okay,
they still need Kimberly to lose to be in the winning conference conversation. And that hasn't happened yet.
So Kimberly's undefeated and you guys have one loss to Kimberly?
Yep.
Who's in third?
Boy, I don't even honestly know that. I would guess Hortonville or Appleton East are probably in that grouping. East is decent. Hortonville's decent. I thought Conlon would be better, and they've struggled a little bit more.
All right. So I was shocked. So we were at East last night, whatever, and Terry, my stepdad, was asking me about it, and I said, well, Norristown first, and us and Kakana are tied, whatever, but we play Kakana next week, whatever. And then I looked at the standings. I'm like, wait a second, Kakana hasn't even played North yet. They played the last week of the year, and Kakana lost to Nina, which shocked me.
Right, and North, we watched the North Nina game last night, and North demolished them. So it was over quick. So
North, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Well, so Kakana's beat North in a tournament. They beat him not out of 5, but out of 3.
Yeah.
So we'll see. My guess is that North's going to be the one, and us and Kakana are going to be the 2-3, and then
sure
we'll battle off from there. But
yeah, it'll be an interesting postseason. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Good talking to you. We'll talk next week again.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. See you later.
Later.